All right, so we have these measure of angle C, which was 55, measure of angle D, which was 35, and that sums to be 90 degrees. And because 55 plus 35 is 90, that means we have complementary angles. Okay, two angles are said to be complementary if their measures sum to equal 90 degrees. All right, it's pretty straightforward. It's just saying that if you have two angles and they add up and the measures add up to be 90 degrees or 90, then you say that they're complementary. All right, let's look at this last example real quick and what it says. This last example says they do not have to be in the same two lines. Okay, so if you look here, this one I drew this, for example, I split up a 90 degree exactly so it was easy to see, right? I split a 90 degree here exactly in half. Okay, and then we got 45 and 45, and then 45 plus 45 was 90. All right, and then we could say that angle A and angle B are complementary because they add up to be 90. All right, same thing here. I split these up using the same right angle. All right, so what this is saying here, and we got 55 plus 35 to be 90. Okay, and we said they were complementary. All right. Now what this is saying here is they're saying I didn't have to do that if I didn't want to. For example, it says they don't have to be in the same two lines. That just means I could have done like something like this. Let's say this angle right here, let's call this angle Y. All right, so this is angle Y here, and it's equal to 70 degrees. And then I'll call this angle X. Okay, this angle will be X, and I'll say it's 20 degrees. All right, now what do you notice about angle X and angle Y? What happens when you add them both together? Well, you get 20 plus 70, which is 90. Okay, so that's all so what I was saying here is they don't have to be in the same, right angle. They don't have to come from that. You can take two separate angles, all right? And if the two separate angles, if you add them together and you get 90, then you just say they're complementary. So what we can say here is we can say angle X and angle Y are complementary. All right? So complementary just means two angles. If you add them both together, you get 90 degrees. Okay, and then you say that those two angles are complementary. All right, so let's look at this next one. This next one is called supplementary. Okay, so definition. Two angles are said to be supplementary if their measures sum to equal 180. All right, so instead of summing to equal 90 degrees, we're going to sum to be 180 degrees for supplementary. And an easy way to remember which one is which is if you do this. If you take the word complementary, all right, complementary. So we're going to find an easy way to remember it. If you take, which one's which? So if you take the word complementary and you just draw a little line right next to the C and complementary, like going down, you see that the number that you kind of get here is 90. All right, so that's how you can kind of remember that complementary is 90 degrees. All right, there's like a hidden 90 in there. All right, and then supplementary is just the other one. Okay, so you can just remember supplementary is 180. All right, so let's look at some examples of supplementary, and let's also remember straight angle, right? So straight angle measured 180 degrees, and two angles are said to be supplementary if their measures sum to equal 180 degrees. So there's probably going to be something something going on between straight angles and supplementary angles. All right, supplementary angles. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at some examples. So what we can do here is we can take this first one. All right, we could take this first line here, and we can see that it's a straight line, right? So we see that it's a straight line, so we know there's 180 degrees in it. All right, but now we're looking at supplementary and pretty much just what it means to be supplementary. So what you can do here is you can look at this. You could cut this straight line here like this. All right, and notice what you get when you do that. You get an obtuse angle, which has to be greater than 90 but less than 180. So you get an obtuse angle, and you also get a what? You also get an acute angle, right? So let's say, for example, this angle here, let's call it angle A. This obtuse angle A, let's say that the measure of that is equal to, okay, so the measure of angle A is equal to, let's say it's 120 degrees, all right? And then this bottom one down here, let's call that angle B, and we'll say that the measure of angle B is equal to 60 degrees. Well, what's 120 degrees plus 60 degrees? Well, you get 180 degrees, right? 120 plus 60 is 180. So what does that say about these two angles? We say these two angles are supplementary because they add to be 180. So we can say angle A and angle B are supplementary because they add to be 180. All right, so just like complementary was just when two angles add to be 90, we say they're complementary. When two angles add to be 180, we say they're supplementary. All right, so we could do another one right over here. Let's look at this one. Let's say we take this one and we cut it directly in half. Okay, so let's just exactly in half. All right, so maybe we cut it right in here. Okay, just like this. Well, what do you notice about this straight line and this straight line? They're going through each other exactly straight. This is actually called perpendicular. All right, well, we haven't talked about that yet, but these two lines are perpendicular, so they look like this. So really what we have here is we have two right angles. But these two right angles, each one measures 90 degrees because right angles always measure 90 degrees. So let's say we call this angle T. Okay, we'll call this angle T, and we'll say that the measure of angle T, so we'll say the measure of angle T is equal to 90 degrees, all right? And then we'll call this one angle S, okay? And then we'll say that the measure of angle S is equal to 90 degrees also. Well, what's 90 degrees plus 90 degrees? 90 plus 90 is 180 degrees. So what we can say here is we have supplementary angles. Okay, these two angles, S and T, are supplementary because they add to be 180. All right, so we can say angle S and angle T are supplementary. Okay, supplementary just means that you have two angles that add to be 180. All right. So this next example is just like this one. Okay. So we don't have to have them that they're on the straight line. Okay. They don't have to be like this. They don't have to be on the same line. All right. You can break them up. Is pretty much what this last one's saying. So for example, let's say we have this angle, okay, and let's say we have this angle here. All right, let's say this angle here is 130 degrees, and this one here is 60 degrees. Oops, I'm sorry. 50 degrees, right? Okay, 50 degrees. Because what am I going to end up doing? I'm going to say 130 degrees plus 50 degrees is going to add up to be 180 degrees, right? So we could just call this like angle 1, angle 2. And then we can say angle 1 and angle 2 are Sup. I'm just going to write S-U-P-P for supplementary. I'm going to abbreviate it. All right. So angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary because you get 130 plus 50, which is 180, and two angles are said to be supplementary if their measures sum to equal 180 degrees. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. So just a quick recap. All right, right angle, 90 degrees. Acute angle, less than 90 degrees. Obtuse angle, greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Okay, but less than 180 degrees. All right, we talked about a straight angle. A straight angle is just the angle that comes from a straight line. All right, and that measures 180 degrees. Okay, the angle from a straight line is 180 degrees, which was closely related to supplementary. Okay, supplementary. All right, then we talked about complementary, just means two angles that add to be 90 degrees. All right, so 45 and 45 is 90. This angle and this angle, complementary. 55 plus 35 is 90. This angle and this angle, complementary. And then we said we can break them up. 70 plus 20 is 90. So we say this angle and this angle, complementary, because they add to be 90. Easy way to remember complementary is just to make a little 90 right in here. All right. Then we said two angles are said to be supplementary if they add to be 180. 60 plus 120, right? We broke up a straight line, which has 180 degrees in it already. We broke it up to 120 and 60. Added those two angles together, we got 180. Because they added to be 180, we said supplementary. All right, then we looked at right angle, and it was 90 and 90 in this case, and they added to be 180. And because they add to be 180, we say S and T, angle S and angle T are supplementary. Then similar to here, we broke them up, so we took two different angles. This one's 130, this one's 50 degrees. Add them both together, you got 180, and you say angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary because they add to be 180. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this these first few angles. Thanks for watching.